Hello and welcome to a Franchise Hockey Manager 4 stream. My name is Adam. I am the community manager of Franchise Hockey. With me, as always, is FHM producer Jeff, who is pictured on your screen. Say hi, Jeff.
Hey, everybody.
And we are here with something brand new. We are doing a historical challenge. Jeff, tell us all about the historical challenge.
Well, historical challenges are something we added for FHM4. It's sort of a shorter term game. You got to, instead of taking over a team, say early in their history or 20, 30 years back and playing forward for decades, this gives you a little more immediate challenge. They range from, I think, one season to some of them are, might go 5 or 6 years long, but nothing more than that. Something you can sort of get away with, you do in the space of an evening if you want. This one in particular is there's one for each of the current NHL teams. We'll probably be adding more since people seem to like them. This one is the Islanders Challenge, which starts in September of 1983, beginning of the 83-84 season. And the goal here is to get your 5th cup in a row as the Islanders, which the actual Islanders wound up not succeeding in. They lost to the Oilers in 5 games in the Stanley Cup Finals this year, despite having a pretty good regular season and still having basically the core of their dynasty team, one that had won 4 cups in the previous year. The previous seasons is still pretty much intact, but that may be part of the problem because a few of the guys have started to go downhill a little bit.
Drive for 5.
Yeah, and they pretty much stood pat with the roster this season. The only real move they made was trading Mike McEwen to LA for a 4th-round pick. They didn't really bring anyone in other than in mid-season where, and I'm going to get to that in a second, they had 2 very high draft picks, Pat Flatley and Pat LaFontaine, who were playing for the national teams. That season they won this was an Olympic year, 1984 Olympics in, I guess that was Sarajevo. And LaFontaine was playing for the States and Flatley for Canada. So they didn't get those players until I think it was about February, March after the Olympics were over. So technically in the game you are allowed to start with those 2, but what I've done is, just for the sake of making this a little more challenging, I put them on our farm team to start the year, and I won't bring them up, let's say, until, what are we looking at for a trading deadline this year? March 6th. Yeah, it seems about fair. I'll say at the end of February I can bring those 2 up. So putting that artificial limit on myself off the start just to make a little bit make this a little bit more challenging. And you can see there we've got the actual farm team that the Islanders had this year is in the game now instead of using the reserve list. That's Indianapolis Checkers of the CHL, which got started after, well, no, actually, the Racers, the WHA Racers had gone out of business before then, but when the WHA folded, Indianapolis got a CHL team, and that was the Islanders farm team for a few years. I think they took over from Fort Worth. So what we've got here is...
They are not playable, though.
Yeah, not playable.
Just to be clear.
Yeah.
As I see somebody kind of poking up in the chat.
Yep, no, it wasn't the IHL. It was they moved over to the IHL eventually. It was I think it was the Indianapolis Ice in the IHL. So separate team. But when the CHL went under, Indianapolis doesn't have a great record for picking teams in leagues that survive. That's WHA died, CHL died, IHL died.
It was the Indianapolis Ice. You are correct.
But anyhow, what we've got here is we're starting in pretty good shape. Obviously, Trottier, Bossy, Potvin, the real core of the Islanders teams, still there. John Tonelli, Bob Nystrom, Billy Smith, of course, he doesn't have a fantastic rating, but he's a lot better in the playoffs. But you can see a lot of guys have started to slip a little bit. McEwen isn't really worth much of anything anymore, which is kind of why they shipped him out. Stefan Persson, I think I've actually got him underrated a bit for this season. I got to take a look at the ratings for that and maybe bump them up a little bit. But he's down to 1 star. He'd been kind of a key part of the first few Cup teams, and various other assorted parts. Butch Goring's getting near the end of his career. Brent Sutter's starting to take off. He had kind of a rough sophomore year after a big first year when the Islanders won their second cup. Anders Kaller's, the wheels have totally fallen off there. Had been a solid second liner for the cup teams, and last year he didn't do much at all. I think he had one. I think this was his last season or second to last in the NHL.
Okay.
Yeah, and chat question: did they win 3 consecutive cups in the early '80s? No, they won 4. So that's what we're trying to do here: get them to 5th to match the Montreal's record. The one thing that we could do here, I think it would make sense to make a trade before the start of the season. We've got 3 really good goalies. Obviously, Smith is going to be there, and we want him for the playoffs. Kelly Rudy he started the season with Indianapolis in real life, but he was a pretty huge prospect at that point. But they also had Rolly Melanson, who was a pretty solid backup goalie and actually more or less split time with Smith the previous season, even though Smith did most of the starting during the playoffs. So we've got at least one asset there that we can move for something else. So what do you think? Do we go with moving, since we only really care about the short term here because we're trying to get the achievement and finish the challenge? I think it may.
You know what?
We can probably get more out of Rudy.
I think we should maybe hold on to it just for a little, because let's not forget we could always have somebody getting injured.
That's true. I mean, either way, though, we've got.
I'm just saying we play a little bit of the preseason and see how it goes. I mean, if we make it through the preseason, we're fine. I would also like to point out, too, it might be a time, because it is the mid-1980s, that we look at tactics.
Yeah, and another thing to point out here, this is actually a new build of the game. This is version 4.2.44, which is a couple of, I think about, 4 or 5 builds ahead of the currently released one from last week. We've been making a few changes. We're going to try and get that out to you this week. But obviously it's in good enough shape now that I'm confident it's not going to crash on us while we're testing. But 80s tactics, we need something pretty much wide open, don't we?
I'm thinking perfect time with the Islanders especially would be fire wagon hockey.
Yep, Bossy, Trache, Potvin. I mean, you could go a little bit slightly more conservative. But no, let's go with that. And don't really want to do the neutral zone trap.
Would a counterattack make sense for them?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, especially with Potvin back there.
Yeah. Another point to bring out, too, just as we're talking about the Islanders, I remember... So, going for their 5th Stanley Cup, they played... You said the Oilers, but it was the year before they played the Oilers as well to win the 4th Stanley Cup, and they said it was that series that really taught Gretzky how to win.
Yep.
As he went over to congratulate them, he said, and saw nobody was celebrating after their 4th Stanley Cup. They were resting and had ice on the bruises and shoulders, and realized he was going to have to give a lot more if they were going to win.
Okay, so you can see there I just did the AI setup for the lines and got pretty good results with that. You'd maybe flip Sutter and Nystrom, but I think a lot of that is just down to the ratings. Tonelli on the first line. Clark Gillies, who'd started to slip a little at this point, is actually only on the 4th line. May want to swap that around, and we got a extra center in the right wing spot. Who got? Oh, Kallur didn't get. No, I think I'll leave that as it is, actually. Fairly happy with what the AI is doing there. A couple of chat questions. Did the goalie start thing get fixed with the last patch? Is that the with the backup goalie starting a little too often? I've made a couple of changes there that will tend to to avoid that. Part of what was happening, I noticed in testing, is that if the backup happened to get a shutout and get really hot, that could sort of trigger something where it sort of spiraled into him playing most of the season. Had one really bad case of that I saw during testing, so we've toned down a couple of things there. And now the other question, so TP going to add more sports to go along with baseball and hockey? At some point, maybe. can't say anything about it now.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, our preseason starts against the Oilers. So just advance up with that.
Lacos 1, 2, 3, 4. He's saying his backups weren't getting any starts.
Oh, that. Okay, yeah. No, that's what did I do there? Oh, that was. Now I remember what that was. That was a thing with. It was only affecting the user's team. The goalie start settings weren't getting activated properly for the user, so that is all fixed now. Yep.
Excellent.
Okay, I think I will just. Oh, the other thing about historical challenges, you're forced into challenge mode, so you can't edit, and you can only move ahead a few days at a time. So it's a little harder to cheat on this. But we will at least get through the preseason. Brent Sutter gets a minor injury. Oh, and the other thing you'll see you can see these because I didn't turn it off. The numbers beside the news and the news headlines and the stories are just an internal reference for when we're testing. Because I'm using the testing build right now, I've got that turned on so I can see what the numbers are. You don't actually see those in the game.
Yep.
Should have turned them off before I started this, but forgot to. So.
That's not a big deal.
Yeah. And how did we do in those exhibition games? So, tied the Oilers, couple of wins, one overtime loss against the Flames, and we got one more week to go through, so I'll just run through that quickly. And what we got? Oh, Steve Yzerman. Is that his rookie year, I think? Yep, that's his rookie year. Hurts himself right out of the gate.
Yeah, he was 83.
I remember when the Wings drafted him. I think, yeah, that was a LaFontaine draft. One of the local Detroit media writing a column saying that the team was that he was disappointed because the team had to settle for Steve Yzerman.
Yeah, that's sure a terrible thing to have to settle for.
Yeah, in retrospect, not looking like it was Joe Falls. Come to think of it, that's who wrote it. And where are we? End of the almost to the end of the preseason. And we'll just run us up to the next game now. Okay, got a few guys on the team who need to clear waivers. So I sent them down. Gord Lane is pretty much done at this point. Darcy Regier, future Sabre GM, but never really much success as an NHLer, and various other guys. Nobody that's really too concerning to lose.
Did we have any storylines come through?
Nothing yet. I don't think. Did you see one?
I've seen a couple on mine. I just wondered on yours if anyone had.
Nope, definitely not yet. Just looked. And just out of curiosity, they traded McEwen, I think, in November this year, so I'll try it a little earlier. And I'll use the new shop player feature to send them around the league and see if we get any responses back.
All right.
And no, this actually shows you something new in the, I think it was in the last update we added this. You get a message now that lets you know that there's been no interest in the rest of the league, other than wondering if the offer worked or not. So we can't even get the fourth rounder the Rio Islanders got out of them.
Harsh.
Question in chat about signing numbers each time the player comes up. Right now, no, you have to do it each time the player returns. It's mainly an issue with storing the number for the player while he's on another team. So we'll try to find a way around that, but for now, that's the only, you have to assign it every time he comes back up. And I should have set that to auto saves. I'll do that right now. Switch the auto saves to yearly instead of monthly, so we're not getting that delay every month. A little bit of news, and what do we got around the league? We got Denny Potvin named for us as one of the best defensemen in the league, and Billy Smith is one of the best goalies.
Excellent. As he should be.
And we're named as one of the 3 cup contenders, us, the Stars, and the Oilers.
All right.
So this is 83-84. Gretzky led. This was one of Gretzky's 200-point years. And we're starting off against the Nordiques, so let's watch a little bit of that. I did download the logo pack, one of the logo mods and uniform mods out of our mod forum. I don't think these two are on, could be wrong, I don't think these two are on the Steamworks mod section yet, but I assume they're coming pretty soon. But if you go to the forum, you can get these and play with the actual uniforms rather than the generic ones, and the logo selection is a little more complete as well. So Quebec, Mario Gosselin in goal, and pretty much your standard mid-80s Nordiques, Stasny brothers, Dale Hunter, Michel Goulet. So a pretty good team, but we should be able to beat them. And I'm just gonna turn stoppages off, and we will sim quickly through this. It's going to tear. I've got it on. I'm just doing sim period end, so it'll go a lot faster than it would if I was actually watching the play-by-play. And former Islander Pat Price makes it 1-0 for Quebec. Kind of ironic. So we're out shooting them pretty handily at this point.
As it should be.
But Mario Gosselin having a pretty good game for Quebec so far. Something I want to change in there is the color scheme, because Quebec and the Islanders both have that basic blue and white. Well, blue, white, and orange for the Islanders, red, white, and blue for the Nordiques, and Mike Bossy ties it up for us. But there's not enough contrast, so I'm going to see if we can flip that around so one team is light on dark and the other way around. Be a little easier to see. And Ken Morrow with a rare goal makes it 2-1 halfway through the second.
Not Secret Face in the chat says, is it possible to trade for Wayne Gretzky? Or is that almost impossible?
At this point, you might be. I mean, I could, if I stacked up Trottier and Bossy and a bunch of draft picks and did something really crazy, I could probably get him, but I'm not sure if you could repeat the actual Kings Oilers trade.
Okay, challenge accepted here. I'm going to see if I can get them to say something. Well, Jeff is playing out. We want Gretzky.
And we're cruising here now, 4-1 halfway through the third. It's kind of hard to have a bad game with the 83 Islanders. They may not have been quite up to the dynasty level, but still a pretty great team.
Yeah. Okay, so far I have asked for Gretzky. I have offered Potvin, Trottier, and Bossy, and I've got, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they'll accept this offer. And I offer a first-round pick, and it's a well-balanced offer.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you do have to give something pretty crazy to get them out of there.
Two first-round picks.
Brian Trottier gets his 850th point, and we win 5-1. So I'm just going to sim through a lot of this so we can get towards the end of the season. We got an injury to Butch Goring, who is out for a couple of weeks. So I'll put him on the injured list. Dave Langevin is only day-to-day, so that's fine.
Okay, so I offered Potvin, Trottier, Bossy. a first-round pick in 84, a first-round pick in 85 for Gretzky, and I cannot agree to this trade, but it's close. I still don't think they'd probably do that.
No, I mean, this is Gretzky at his absolute peak here. It's going to be tough to get him out of there. As it should be.
Our friend Ratcast in the chat says, "What's up with the Golden Knights? Those guys are on fire." Well, they got a couple guys who can score, and they got a good coach.
And decent goaltending so far, too.
Surprisingly, let's be honest.
Fleury runs hot and cold, though.
Fleury's hurt. It's Subban in net.
Oh, Subban been starting well? I know he started the Boston one. I didn't realize he was still there. Wow,
yeah,
look at that. 14-1 Edmonton over Detroit.
Which would be very realistic for the time.
Yeah, I gotta have a look at that box score.
I'm sure you got an email about it.
Oh yeah, I got an email. 8-0 after the first period.
Oh.
So the Wings held it to 6-1 after that. I'm just looking for point totals. Gretz, relatively spread the scoring out pretty much. Gretzky had 5 points. Anderson had 4. Messier gets a hat trick.
That is rough.
That's ugly, but yeah, there's your mid-80s hockey for you. And I think we're going to be another week before we can get Goring back. Is he almost back yet? Oh, day to day, I can... Should interrupt me as soon as he's ready to go. And Gretzky a 7-point game and a 7-3 win against the Flames. So I wonder how far out he is in the scoring lead already. We've only played, what? We're 4-2. We played 6 games. The Oilers have played 6-2. And Gretzky already has how many? Let's see here. 22 points. 6 games.
Well, again,
remember hockey pools in the 80s, either Gretzky was completely disqualified from being chosen, or you had to split Gretzky's goals and assists up. You could only take one of them. You couldn't draft the whole player.
Really? I never heard of that.
Yeah, that was pretty much a standard rule from about I think pools started getting popular about 85 or 86 through pretty much the end, like 88, 89. I think the one I was in college, I remember one year, I think he was still out of bounds.
Makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, chat question, will a team retire a number if a player becomes a Hall of Famer? It's likely. It's not just Hall of Famers, though. Like Lego said. It's easy. The button goes away better if I'm not clicking on the streaming instead of the actual game. And Goring is almost ready to go. So
why does it keep saying it's paused?
Nope, he's got one more day left.
In challenge mode, can you retire a number?
Can you retire? Do you retire the numbers yourself? No, we don't have that in any mode right now.
Yeah.
But you can. I mean, they will be retired normally. Okay, Merrick, I'm going to take out, put Goring back in. And were they dressing cooler? Yeah, they were.
Actually, here's something I want to talk to you about, Jeff, while you're doing this. And I'm actually a little bit shocked nobody in the chat has brought it up already. Did you see about this, what the SPHL has announced for its playoff format?
No, not yet. They changed something?
Yes. I think it's to make your life harder. They have changed to what they call the new challenge round. Basically, the SPHL has made it so the top 3 teams can pick their opponents of who they want to play.
That's going to be fun to code. And we can do
that
it,
was actually my first thought. I could hear you groan when you heard this. But what do you think about that?
I mean, it does. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for the NHL to do. It would create some interest for the first round, at least, because you'd be sort of insulting your opponent by choosing them.
They said this is actually coming from the Austrians EBEL League, or EBEL League, where they do something very similar.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to take a look at how to do that then, if they're actually doing it. Oh yeah, I think I remember we were doing the Austrian rules. We looked at it and decided, yeah, that's a little too much to do right now. I think we'll I mean, the logical thing is most teams are probably going to take the worst possible opponent anyhow. So how many times will it actually choose somebody else?
You know what? If you've been playing a team and have been beating them every day, all year, every time you play them, and they're actually like the 6th team, wouldn't you rather play them than the 8th team, especially if that 8th team has been kind of beating you?
Possibly. I mean, I'm sure there's other considerations too. If we're only 5-4.
Injuries.
Struggling here. If it's a team that's close to you too.
Yeah.
The owner's a little greedy and wants more playoff revenues, and Thomas Jansson's.
Raquel says they're going to try that in their league. Not Secret Face says, where is this league? It's the Southern
Professional League, yeah, Southeast U.S.
Yeah.
mostly.
Yeah.
Sort of the tier below the ECHL. And,
yes, I'll post a link in the chat right now for that.
Got hurt.
Great article on the Hockey News.
Sore hip, it's only day-to-day, so that's not too bad, but you were almost right there. If we had traded a goalie and Smith was not out for the whole season, that could have hurt.
Okay, yeah. Scott Darling did play in the SPHL. He is the first SPHLer to make it to the NHL. I don't remember the team off the top of my head, but I know he played in the SPHL.
Oops, I need to send somebody down. Gonna have to put McEwen down. Actually, have to wave him to do that, but I don't think anybody's taking him. Okay, with a lot of, oh boy, that's not good. Denny Potvin, is that a shoulder injury?
Oh no.
Out for a couple of months, so that's our best defenseman down.
Ouch.
I'm gonna have to call McEwen, Ruben McEwen right back up. Could do Regier, but I need the offense out of McEwen to replace Potvin, and that's going to be ugly for a little while. We're only 6-5 at day before Halloween. I think as soon as Smith gets back, I'm going to look at trading one of the goalies and getting a little more depth somewhere else. Not sure if forward or defense at this point. Did you ever get that Gretzky trade to work?
Again, if I offer two first round picks and those 3 guys, there's no way they're going to accept anything else.
I keep seeing Gretzky every pretty much every other night, and he's scoring 39 points in his first 11 games. Crazy.
Like Bossy, Trache, and Potvin, and 2 first rounders. If they won't do that, then they're not doing anything.
Yeah, pretty true. One thing I think I can do there is change the way that defaults and Make it a
Okay,
little
I noticed
easier with your signing numbers. Go ahead.
Tom Barrasso's in the league, so
Yeah,
he came in out of high school.
Yeah, Acton
correct?
Boxborough High in New England, outside of Boston, I think. Wasn't really expected to. If I remember right, I thought they were going to. I think they expected him to go to college, but decided to sign with the Sabres and Rookie of the Year that year.
What year was that? I can't remember.
83, 84.
Was it 80?
Okay, winning a little more now, actually. Where's Smith? Is still not back? Day to day still. Come on, Billy.
Barrasso, Livmere, knee, Ratcast. Still not a guy who I think you'd want to make upset.
And now Tonelli's hurt. Still just day to day. A lot of little injuries, and Smith still isn't back yet. He's taking his time. But we are on top of the Patrick division at least. Wow, Whalers having a rough year, 1-11 start. Second in the conference, and I think third or fourth overall in the league, not too bad. Oilers doing pretty well. Canucks predictably terrible for the mid-80s.
As it should be.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not. I lived through it. I remember.
Just for fun, I'm going to put Brian Trottier on Shot Player and see what offers we get. Montreal offers their first round pick in Larry Robinson.
That's in the right ballpark, I'd say.
Toronto offers Jim Benning and a 5th round pick. Toronto, that's just hurtful. Boston offers Barry Peterson and a 5th round pick. Chicago offers Doug Wilson and a 4th rounder. That's at least reasonable.
Yeah, it's not that great.
Okay, this is why you badmouth Detroit. Here's what Detroit offers for Brian Trottier. Actually, see if you can guess this. They offered a defenseman and a pick.
Reed Larson? Or Willie Hubert?
No. They offered 35-year-old Brad Park.
Oh, wow.
I
forgot Park was there with that.
And an 11th round pick.
Okay, yeah, you probably don't want to. I was a little worried that the sending guys around and getting offers for other teams in the league was going to be a little too generous, but apparently not.
No. Oh man, that's amazing.
Okay, finally Billy Smith is almost ready to come back, but probably going to be another week. He's been day-to-day for half of November now.
Here's another reasonable offer. LA Kings offer Larry Murphy, 22 years old, full 4-star player, and a 3rd round pick for Trottier.
Yeah, I mean, in the long term, it would have been a pretty good deal. It wouldn't have gone over well at that point, I don't think.
Brad McCrimmon and a 5th round pick from Philly.
Yeah, McCrimmon had a couple of really good years in the mid-'80s.
Here's another wheel of a deal. Pittsburgh offers 22-year-old center Doug Shidden and an 11th round pick for Brian Trottier.
Yeah, Shedden was good for, I think, about half a season. Wasn't even this one, if I remember right. And then kind of went downhill in a hurry.
This is also not a bad trade. St. Louis offers Bernie Fedorenko and a 5th round pick.
Oh, the man's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, for Trottier and a 5th round pick. So
okay, finally. Smith. Oh, geez, Smith is still day to day? Come on, guy. He's milking this.
Okay, this isn't bad either. Buffalo offers Gilbert Perreault, 3rd rounder for Trottier.
Okay, finally Billy Smith is back. Took him forever. Now we got to see what we can do about this goalie situation. Check that last email. Yep. So Smith is back. I'm thinking that maybe I just shop one of the either Rudy or Melanson. Wow, Rudy played really well when 7-1. Okay, even though I could probably get a little more for Rudy, I'm going to try shopping Melanson around the league and see what we get. And a few offers. Wow, we got a whole bunch of offers.
Okay, Hartford might have offered the worst trade for Brian Trottier. For Brian Trottier, they offered 22-year-old left wing and future head coach Dave Tippett.
Ouch.
And a 12th round pick.
Okay, Leafs are, I'm trying to see what I can get from Melanson here. Leafs are offering us Billy Harris, which is kind of ironic because he was the Islanders' first overall draft pick, but looks like he's stuck in the AHL now and he's pretty much done at this point. Wow, Bruins offering us Terry O'Reilly. That's interesting. He's a little bit past it now, but that would be a pretty good playoff addition. It's the best one I've seen so far. Kings want to give us Mario Lessard, their goalie, who was nearly out of hockey by this point, if I remember right. Penguins, young guy and a draft pick. Flyers, Blake Dunlop, pretty good defensive forward who could score a little too. It's not a bad offer. I think I still like the O'Reilly one better. Sabres, no, that's not good. Canucks, prospect and basically another prospect and a defenseman. Devils, that's not good. Whalers, Blaine Stoughton, who I think was mostly finished by now. Yeah, he's got no points at all. He had like 2 or 3 good years after the WHA merger, and then didn't really go anywhere after that. Nordiques, Pierre Aubry, and Bob McMillan.
Beauty Creative in the chat asks, will you still get offer if you shop injured players?
Yeah, I think so. You probably won't get the same quality of. I mean, it'll work technically. I'm not sure if you'll actually get any good offers, because you would want to be able to do that if you wanted to, say, dump cap space for a guy that's on permanent injury. But okay, if the Bruins want to give me Terry O'Reilly, he's still 1.5 stars. It's not. He had that big injury the year before. That's why he's kind of gone downhill, and he's not playing that well this season. But what would that do to my right wing? He'd probably go in between Nystrom and Sutter. Yeah, I kind of like that move. So we're going to grab Terry O'Reilly for Melanson. We get a late round draft pick that won't be worth anything. And do we have to send anybody down? Doesn't look like it. And let's just play that first game against the Whalers to see how we do. Quickly sim through it. And you'll notice I've got the sound. I deleted the sound files from the save, so we're not being deafened. And I can actually hear Adam when we're playing the game.
What?
I know it's so much more fun shouting over each other the other way, but...
Huh?
And off to kind of a rough start with Terry O'Reilly in the lineup for the Bruins. But John Tonelli makes it 1-0 for us, even though we're getting outshot badly. I think the Whalers were half decent at this point, if I remember right. They got Ron Francis. They still had Ron Francis. They hadn't traded him to Pittsburgh yet.
Yeah, they shouldn't be terrible.
I'm trying to remember how good they actually were this season. They were decent by the a few years after this, and I can't remember how quickly it happened. And O'Reilly gets a goal in his first game with us, playing with Clark Gillies.
Excellent.
So 2-1, despite getting outshot badly, and Trottier makes it 3-1. So bad game for Greg Millen, and it looks like Billy Smith is pretty hot for us too. We can keep him that way, getting up to the playoffs. We'll be in good shape because he's got a really good big games rating.
Good. Good.
And Whalers rallying. Almost got it back. Don't screw it up here, guys. Come on. And we just escaped with a 4-3 win. And just have a quick look at how O'Reilly did in his first game with us. 56 game rating, 1 goal. Oh, didn't play too much. Oh, finally got a storyline.
Oh, what story?
Dressing room shenanigans may cost Edmonton players. John Bloom, not to be confused with his son, John Bloom, who was draft bust a few years back, and Dave Semenko are in hot water for a series of pranks aimed at each other, at their other teammates, and at one another. So the only upshot of that is John Bloom's morale has declined a little bit, and he's not exactly a first-line guy for the Oilers, so it's not going to hurt them too much. And Semenko's actually kind of off to a decent start for him.
Shenanigans,
but that may not be the last we hear of that story. I'm just thinking. Did I not... Okay, only playing O'Reilly on the fourth line for now. We're actually doing pretty well for being missing our best defenseman. And another minor injury, but nothing he has to sit out for. Up to Christmas at least. We're running a little low on time. We'll probably get another show out of this one, I think.
Lacos1234 in the chat says, I know this is a hockey stream, but did you guys see Gordon Hayward's injury last night? Yikes. Yeah, I did see that. That was...
I mean, it looked like the sock was the only thing still holding the leg together.
Yeah, that was... Whew. I've seen some bad things in times, but that was...
It's not like the Joe Theismann thing with a bone sticking out of his leg, but it's right up
well,
there.
It could have been that sock was covering a lot.
True enough, yeah, that was like the foot was almost off.
The first thing I did after I watched the replay, because yes, I did watch the replay, was immediately look at the bench to see what the guys thought, and then somebody actually had the GIF posted afterwards, and yeah, those poor guys on the bench who were just like, the one guy hit the other guy, goes look, and then everybody on the bench just started freaking out.
Yeah, well, even the guys that were on the court, you could see them hiding their eyes so they didn't have to look at it.
Yeah, that was not a pretty thing.
Well, it is with the defenseman injuries this year. Potvin's almost ready to come back, but Yzerman is out for a couple of weeks. And Morrow's got a minor one. He can still play. How much time we got left on Potvin? Well, Potvin's only day-to-day. It looks like he's back a little earlier. He's coming along a little faster than planned. So that's good news at least. Oh, and I see another storyline there. Mark Napier fell down the stairs. And he's out for a month. And he's, on top of being hurt, his morale's also gone downhill because he did something stupid, and he was actually having a pretty good season up to that point.
Of course. Ratcast in the chat says, I saw it happen to an AHL linesman. It was gross. Lacos1234 says they're saying 6 months and he'll be fine. I'm not.
Yeah, well, they said it really depends on if there's tendon damage or ligament damage too, as well as if it's just a broken bone. That's probably recoverable, but if the other stuff's messed up too, that can complicate things. And Wayne Gretzky has a great game. What a surprise! Another one. Oh wow, that was against us. That's not good. 4 assists, and then they beat us 7-1. And fortunately, it's Denny. That was the last game Denny Potvan's going to miss because he's back now. And if he had been in the lineup, that probably wouldn't have happened. But now Bob Bourne's hurt for 2 or 3 weeks. One thing after another. I mean, it's a little older team, but I'm surprised they're this fragile. Oh, I forgot I never actually set the goalie start settings and turned them on. Can go with the hottest goalie. I'll try to give Rudy a little bit of use, just in case Smith gets hurt in the playoffs or around then.
Probably a good chance.
See if I can get him another point or so, half point or so of development.
Good plan. And see if you get him a little bit
laughing at the Dave
too,
Tippett offer. Tippett
idea.
actually just had a 4-assist game for the Whalers. Wasn't really an offensive player. I wonder if I've got him rated a little too high in the game. And how far into the season are we? 30 games in. And we're still on top of the Patrick division, so I can't complain too much. 3rd or 4th in the league, slightly behind where the actual Islanders were, but we're going to get Flatley and LaFontaine after the Olympics when I bring them up. Oh, we got another storyline. The case of the missing gloves. Doug Sullivan of Hartford. That was one of your favorite ones.
I enjoyed writing that.
And Guy Lafleur gets his 500th goal.
Now that should be a part 1 of part 2, I believe.
Wow, Montreal's having a great year. 23-4-4 start. First in the league. Just noticed that. They're starting to slip at this point. Matt Snaslund is starting to take off, and Lafleur's still got a little left in him. It's kind of a bridge between their the teams of the 70s and that rather than the cup winning team they had in, what was it, 87?
What team was that? Sorry.
Canadians.
Montreal?
Yeah.
Yeah, they won in 87. Then 88 was Edmonton.
Back to Edmonton after the trade without Gretzky.
89 was Calgary. 90 was Edmonton.
Wait, no, 88 wasn't. The trade was the Oilers Cup after the trade was 89, wasn't it? Yeah.
No, 90 was their cup after. 89 was the Flames.
Was 89 the Flames?
I believe so.
I thought it was earlier than that.
I don't believe so.
I'm trying to remember my hockey playoff pools from the late 80s. And
all right.
Okay, Langevin is ready to come back.
Somebody in the chat Google that and prove to me I'm right.
No, you might be. Because Lanny McDonald would have been a little too good at the... I remember him being almost washed up when they finally won it. So you might be right there. I'll concede it.
He might have been washed up, but his mustache was still glorious.
Still is.
Absolutely.
And Morrow got himself hurt again. Shoulder strain this time. Back onto the injury list he goes. Fortunately, we've got a lot of defensive depth, especially because we haven't traded McEwen. And Radke says you're right.
I don't know a lot of things, but I do know most of my Stanley Cup wins. I can't guarantee to know a lot of things.
I mean, I know who won. I just sometimes get the sequence out a little bit.
The 80s is pretty easy. It's Islanders.
Oilers. Yeah, and that one year where
Canadians
Smith
at
scored on
Oilers.
himself.
Yeah. The 90s, I have to sit down and write them out pretty near and work around.
Okay, almost up to Christmas and still pretty much going as planned. I mean, the big thing in this game is getting it up to the playoffs and winning there. It's basically impossible to miss the playoffs as the 83-84 Islanders. So you can get that part of the challenge relatively easy.
Well, at this point,
Terry O'Reilly's hurt now.
More than 2/3 of the league makes the playoffs, don't they?
Yeah, 16 out of 21 teams.
So you had to be pretty bad to miss the playoffs.
Pretty much.
You had to be like Vancouver Canuck bad.
Yeah, they actually made it in a lot of the time. But you can't be as bad as early Winnipeg Jets bad. That doesn't get you in.
Well, that's because teams like Vancouver screwed them.
All right, totally Vancouver's fault that Winnipeg was terrible for several years.
If they didn't, or their roster, yes. Everyone in the league.
Yeah, Gretzky with another great game. 10-2 win against the Flames for 5 points. I gotta take a look at where his stats are this season. We are, how many games in? 86 points. No, he's pretty much on pace for a Gretzky season. 86 points in his first 36 games. It's actually down a little bit from the previous year. And I will get this at least up to the new year, I think. Oh, there we go. The conclusion to the Sullivan story about his gloves. Gloves found, Sullivan rejoices.
Exactly. Read that last line out, though. Important. In that story.
Oh, and there's actually, I just found there's a glitch in the story. The team isn't described properly, but I put them on right away. It felt so good to have them back. I can't wait to get back out there and face opponents again with these on.
Oh, wait, I thought, okay, it must have been earlier in the story.
Oh, the thing about the teammate finding him?
Yes.
Yeah, Mike Crombeen, his teammate. I found him in my equipment bag. As soon as I found them, I got them back to Doug. I didn't ask for a finder's fee, and besides, I couldn't wait to get rid of them. They really stank. So Sullivan's happy now. He's got his gloves back, and he can continue on with his season. Now he's got his lucky gloves again.
Goal scoring has increased by 7-fold.
Not quite. That's actually, I think the only effect in that story is just a minor up and down for his morale. It's one thing about playing in the 80s, you get a ton of great game messages because it's so high scoring. And Gretzky was the player of the month. What a surprise. And Greg Gilbert's turn to be out with an injury. I think we might almost be healthy again. Islanders owner thinks we're in outstanding shape, and they're very happy with us, so we're not going to get fired. Not that was much of a threat. And O'Reilly's on. Oh, yeah, I forgot he was injured too. O'Reilly and Morrow still out. And we're about 2 months away from the trading deadline, and at which point I'll bring LaFontaine and Flatley up.
Well, we might have to move this into a second episode.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to, but at least we got a big chunk of the season out of the way. Yeah, 8 o'clock I will... Oh, great. Tonelli's injured. Wait, why is it showing Gordon Dineen? Minor facial cut. Okay, nothing too bad. And I will take a quick look at our stats so far. Bossy, not surprisingly, having a great year. Trache Tinelli, Thomas Johnson having a good season. Potvin, despite missing a few games with an injury. Yeah, everybody is doing pretty much what you'd want them to. And where is O'Reilly's injured? That's why he's not on that list. O'Reilly only 5 points in 35 games, so he's kind of over the hill at this point. We're going to have to maybe give him a little more playing time so he doesn't totally decline, but he'll be good to have in the playoffs. And we are first in the Patrick, second in the conference, Wales Conference. Or no, Campbell Conference. Wales Conference, yeah. Campbell's the Western one. And we're actually the worst of the 4 division leaders, but not by a whole lot. Looks pretty similar to the way the real season went. See, Pittsburgh's in there tanking away from Mario Lemieux. All of the Whalers are giving him a good run, and the Wings too are giving him a good run for the money. And the Wings wound up getting that pick, Lemieux and Yzerman playing together.
That would be interesting.
And just out of morbid curiosity, I'll see what my Canucks look like. Yeah, this is pretty much how I remember them. Cam Neely in his rookie year, kind of struggling through things. I'm sure they'll trade him for virtually nothing at some point.
You mean Boston great Cam Neely?
Yep, and Boston not actually doing too well that year.
Ronnie Sauce in the chat says, who do you think is going to win the Calder this season? Nolan Patrick or Nolan Patrick?
We'll see. Still early.
It's a long season.
Yeah, just having a look through the scoring leaders. Let's see. Oh, Bossy's up there for us, obviously. Not a lot of other Islanders that I'm seeing. Gretzky with 91 points, 24 points ahead of the rest of the league.
As you'd kind of expect.
Yep. And for the goalies, Grant Fuhrer, Kelly Rudy actually leading the league in goals against average, so that was a good call-up and a good thing I didn't trade him. So even if Smith gets hurt in the playoffs, we're going to be in good shape goalie-wise, so I wouldn't want the whole challenge to go out just because we got one bad injury, because we seem to be getting a lot of them in this game. But I think we will wrap it up for now, and that is the first half of the schedule. First half of the schedule plus the exhibition games. Yeah, we're right in the middle now after 40 games. So we will get to the playoffs in the next game and go through those and see if we can actually win that challenge by getting the Islanders Cup number 5.
All right.
Yep.
So I'm going to start doing the outro then?
Yeah, I think so. Go ahead and
all right.
wrap it up for there. I'll have a look through this while you're doing it.
All right. Thank you very much for tuning into another Franchise Hockey Manager 4 stream. We stream every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/OTP Developments. Did you miss our stream? Are you watching it on YouTube right now? Then you should hopefully be watching it on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/OTP Developments, where you can see all of our streams archived, including this new historical challenge, our new Florida Panther series, or the Vegas series we previously done, videos from FHM 3, videos from FHM 2. There's lots of good stuff up there. If you want to talk to us about anything else about Franchise Hockey Manager, you can reach out to us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Franchise Hockey Manager. On Twitter, we're at Franchise Hockey, or you can come on down to our official website, which is ootpdevelopments.com. Click on the community button in the top right-hand corner, which will bring you to our official forums where you can discuss Franchise Hockey Manager 4, Out of the Park Baseball, MLB Manager, or anything else you want and wish to desire. Jeff, did I miss anything?
Nope, I was just trying to put a beard on Lonnie McDonald, but I realized I'm not in commissioner mode, so I can't change that, so he's going to have to go clean-shaven for this game. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. We will. You can see that I was played this whole game with the update, so no serious problems there, other than one little glitch I saw in a news story, which will get fixed. But I think we're in pretty good shape right now, so we will hopefully have that new update to you before the weekend. Probably at least another full day of testing tomorrow, just to be on the safe side, but it's looking good at this point. So thanks for coming out, and we will see you all next week, when we'll be back to which game are you going to be playing next week, Adam? Decided yet? Or?
Florida Panthers. I haven't seen ahead yet.
Back to the Panthers.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so thank you everybody, and we will see you in a week.